All right, good afternoon. So this is the first day working with this brand new horse I just got into the facility here. This is a client horse, and his name is Louie, which I think is a hilarious name, especially for him. It's actually a perfect name for him. It fits him really well, but I think it's an awesome horse name. So anyway, Louie here is a 4-year-old quarter horse slash draft cross. Um, his owner bought him recently. Hasn't had him very long. I think a couple months maybe. Um, I'm not gonna correct anything yet. I'm not gonna really work with him yet. I want to kind of tell his story first and just kind of see what he does in here. Um, so he supposedly was broken by some people before the current owner. Um, they said that he's been ridden for like a year, but the owner says, the owner's ridden him and says he rides okay, but he's pretty like can be cinchy, like scared of the saddle, scared of things around his belly. Basically he's just not broke yet. He's basically been cowboyed and ridden, but he wasn't good with being ridden. He was just being forced to be ridden. So I'm gonna go ahead and work with him here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and catch him. When I start out with a new horse, um, it's a little bit different. Maybe if it's an older horse that already has some training versus a brand new, out of the wild Mustang or a ranch raised horse that's out of the wild or something. But um, basically, I'm going to start out by asking them basic questions. And if the answer is the correct answer, then we move on rather quickly. If the answer is the wrong answer, then we start there. So he got haltered very easily. I didn't see any signs of anxiety through the haltering. He didn't seem to be worried about the halter. But what's he doing right now that's maybe not so good? He's very up in my space, right? Now we'll talk more about why being up in your space this much is not a good thing. If you've seen a lot of my other videos, you probably already know, but I'm gonna go ahead and send him. I don't want to stand here and talk too long with him up in my space. So I'm gonna send him, but I want you to notice that I'm not gonna step out of his space and step over here to make it easy for him to go. I'm going to send him from right where I am because he was standing over there when I caught him, right? So I'm going to send him from here, and it might be a thing for him. Send. Now he didn't really catch it, so I'm going to start swinging, and because he's already up in my space there, the first swing with the rope actually hit him, right? But I wasn't going in there to swing with the rope and try to hit him. There, I need that forward movement. So right off the bat, I'm noticing some different things. He has a little issue going forward. When he does go forward, his head shoots straight up in the air. He gets very locked up in his back, and he goes around in a kind of a tense way. But there's also some good things. He's kind of starting to lick and chew there just a little bit. He was lowering his head down, down right there. And he didn't get too bent out of shape about me asking him to go. He may not have ever had groundwork like that done before, I don't know. So this is what I mean by asking him questions, right? I'm going to point, see if he knows the answer of how to do that. If he doesn't, that's where we'll work. Now that hind end's getting kind of close to me, so I'm just going to disengage the hind end, ask him to step around. Now he didn't really, that actually wasn't too bad. I didn't think he was going to do it right, but he kind of did. I'm going to go and ask him to go this way. Now he didn't catch that, stepping right into him and sending him off. So, I talk about this with every horse, but just notice that I'm not just going in there and swinging the rope and whipping on him. I'm pointing first, giving him plenty of time and warning or cueing, say, hey, go this way. And then I'm bringing up my energy, stepping towards him, and then swinging the rope. So there's, he doesn't get hit with the rope until like the third stage of the interaction, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask this hind end to step around, to disengage. Not too bad, not too bad. Okay, now notice where he's looking right now. He's looking off that direction, right? He didn't actually, when he stepped around, he didn't look at me. And when his attention did come towards me, he walked up into my space. So just things to note, not a huge deal. I'm just gonna go ahead and send him, bring up my energy step, and I didn't have to actually hit him with the rope that time. Perfect. So the necessary cue is starting to back up one step each time, if that makes sense. So I'm pointing, I'm bringing my energy up, I'm swinging the ropes, or stepping toward him, swinging the rope. And by the time the rope actually hit him, the first time, that's what it took to move. This time, it was one step earlier. And it'll keep moving back one step until eventually I just point and he goes. I like that he actually got a little spooked right there, but he just came right back to a walk. He kept it under control. That tells me a lot about his mindset and kind of just his personality. That's excellent. I'm going to go and ask him to stop. He didn't. Well, you know, that's not terrible right there. But then he walked up in my space, so I'm going to go ahead and send him. Now, that time was different. Did you notice how that time when I pointed, he went ahead and he actually took a step backward? So he was basically trying to buy himself time by increasing the distance between us so that he could be ready to do what he needed to do, which was go. And that's going to play in here in a second, and I'll tell you about why here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and ask this hind end to step around. It's a little close to me. Okay, and he didn't actually face up, so I'm going to go ahead and send him the other way. Because what does he have to do to go the other way? He has to actually face up. See how he's blocking me out still? Now he's either going to have to turn or go. There. He yields and the pressure goes away. So I'm not starting at like complete kindergarten with him, right? I would call this maybe 3rd or 4th grade level material. So that's what I mean. When I start a new horse, I'm not necessarily going to start him from zero as if he's a colt, but I am going to start asking questions of him as if he knows nothing. And with this horse, he got the right answers all the way through haltering and somewhat through the groundwork, like I said, about a 3rd or 4th grade level. And this is kind of where we're starting. If he was doing all this perfectly, I might throw a saddle on him and start riding him, you know, but he's not there yet. Much better. Okay, what I like about that is he brought his attention into me. He stepped under with his hind foot to fully face up, so he's pretty much almost straight on, dead on to me right now. And as soon as he did that, he licked and chewed, and he's planted on all 4 feet. He's not walking into my space. So, okay, remember a second ago over here, when I sent him, he backed up to buy himself time and space. So he's pretty smart. He figured out, he might have done this before too, but he figured out, hey, instead of having to back out of his space to get by myself time and reaction time, why don't I just stay over here? And so he's staying at a nice respectful distance where if I point, he'll have plenty of time to catch my cue, right? The lead rope's nice and loose. It's not like he's pulling back against me or something. He's not way too far away, but he's just at a respectful distance. And so what am I going to do to reward that? I'm just going to wait. And this is his reward right here, which is he gets to relax. You see that twitch of his head. He's starting to relax a little bit. That might have been a little bit of dominance too right there. We'll see if that, you know, he has not shown me that he's a real dominant type of horse, but we will see if that head shake thing turns out to be dominance or relaxation. But I think that's just a twitching of his neck as he kind of starts to relax a little bit. So I'm just going to wait here for a looking at you. Kind of want to today I'm just testing. You know, I'm not doing a lot of training right now. I'm kind of just testing everything out. I am training because you're always training, but I want to see, because his bottom lip is hanging way low, which is a great thing. It usually means they're pretty relaxed. But he doesn't really strike me as being super relaxed right now. You know, his head's still pretty high. He's still kind of looking around, you know, and he's in a new place. I wouldn't expect him to be super relaxed. But that bottom lip's kind of hanging way down. So I'm kind of curious to see how long is it going to take him to lick and chew here. He'll probably go ahead and lower his head, lick and chew, and basically give up on being super vigilant is basically what he's going to do. And I'm curious to see right here how long this is going to take. There's a lot of twitching going on in his muzzle right there, which is great. I've talked about that a lot in other videos, what that means. I'm not going to get into it here. Nostrils twitching and going uneven right there. He's getting much softer eyes. His head's starting to come down a little bit. Okay, he wants to walk up into my space, so that's basically a coping mechanism. So right there, I got a little more aggressive with him because I didn't feel like he was actually yielding to my space or yielding to me swinging this rope. And that's basically going to be the same as when I'm on his back. If I need him to yield off that leg, whether it's go forward, side pass, get him off the fence so he doesn't run my leg into the fence or a tree or something, it's that same getting off of pressure. And it starts right here with, if that butt's too close to me or a shoulder or anything, you got to get that body part off of that pressure. So he's a little stiff in his head. He likes to pull his head out to the outside a little bit and up. Not terrible, certainly not the worst horse I've ever seen at it. We have exercises to help with that. So I'm just kind of logging these things in my brain about, okay, what are the issues that I see, and remember what techniques I'm watching and seeing, like, oh, this technique's really going to help him. Oh, this technique's really going to help him. And I'm just putting those in my memory bank of later on, what techniques am I going to want to use to make him the best horse he can be. But I really like the way he's moving around. He's going to get good. I just want him to build some muscle. He needs to build some top line muscle, build some hip muscle, and learn to loosen up his neck and use his body a little bit more, but overall not bad. Okay, I'm going to go and ask him to stop. Didn't really catch that, so I'm going to ask him to go the other way. And you can see when I ask him to go the other way, he gets pretty fried. He really doesn't know how to do that. I'm just going to stay here until he figures it out. He's blocking me out. And this is a lot of your issues under saddle right here. There. Is whenever he gets into a jam, he's just bracing up and saying, I'm just going to get stiff until it goes away. And he's got to learn to think, come back to the situation, come back to the human, and bend through the problem. So fixing that right there is going to be a big part of your saddling, your riding, all those issues. But overall, I'm real happy with how he's going. I think, there's always things that we're going to find that are going to take longer than we think. But right now, I think he's going to end up being a pretty easy training job. So hopefully I could use an easy one, because I've got a couple of tough ones right now. I'm going to ask him to stop. Better stepping over with his hind end, but he got about a quarter of the way and he kind of died. So I'm going to go ahead and just send him. Yield that front end. Good. I love how this horse steps way over with his front end. That's really, really going to help you, making him a ranch versatility or rein cow horse, or doing any sort of those reining cow work type of things. That ability that he has naturally to step that front end way over is going to really help you in your turnarounds, your cow turns, even a little bit in stopping and stuff like that, just because he keeps his shoulders up nice. So I think you got a good little horse here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask him to stop. Hey, he kind of caught that a little bit better than before. Nice. I'll take that. Eventually we'll clean it up a little bit, but that's a reward the try moment right there. We want him to know that, hey, that's what you need to do. Granted, it took you a little while to get there. Okay, now he walked up into my space, so I'm going to go ahead and send him. And he kind of lingered that butt right there, right? He cleared his shoulder, but then his butt was just like right there in my face, almost where he could kick me if he wanted to. So I'm going to get pretty aggressive with that butt and say, hey, no, move out of my space. And ask him to stop, just because that butt's a little close. Good. Now, did you see how that time he kind of grabbed his butt and moved it out of the way? That was really good. Okay, now I'm going to send him this way. I was a little late doing this because I don't know if you could see there, but he kind of stopped. See how he's just getting super stiff here? And I'm not going to get too mad about this yet. I have exercises that are going to fix this. But see how in his mind, if he's in a jam, it's just the answer is to get stiffer and pull against it and go, do all the things you don't want him to do, basically. So if I fix nothing today except that would be amazing. I may not even fix that today. That might take longer, but I'm definitely getting a good sense. Like I said, today's just about testing, getting a real good sense of what's working well on this horse, which is a significant amount, and what's not working well on this horse, which is also a significant amount. Better. That was actually a pretty decent stop right there. And immediately licks and chews. That's good as well. One thing that we're going to start seeing with this horse, I think, is right now, if you look at his chest, his front feet are pretty close together, and his chest goes up his front legs like this. If this is the inside of his front legs, it kind of goes up, and then it's almost like a chapel top, you know, like if you think of like an arch in like a Muslim mosque or something, it kind of has that shape like that, right? We want that to be a much flatter, we want his legs to be further apart and his chest to be much flatter. As he starts to get more comfortable and he spreads his front feet out and he's kind of ready to move better, he's going to relax his shoulder blades, lift his shoulder blades, and that's going to flatten out his chest a little bit, and he's going to stand a little bit more like that. Now, you know, there's a confirmation aspect to that too, right? Like not every horse is going to be super wide in their chest, but there is a relaxation component. Like you can even see right now, compared to when I first started talking about this, his chest has already started to relax a little bit and flatten out. Big blinks, head starting to come down. His ears are nice and active. He's very aware of what's going on around him. And he's also pretty content about what's going on around him. It's really good. I really like the mentality of this horse. I'm going to go ahead and send him. I could wait for Licking a Chew here, but because like I was talking about, the big thing I want to work on right now is his response to me sending each time. So I'm going to go ahead and send him. Point, step in, he goes the wrong way, he gets stiff, and he releases to it. Good. Now look how much quicker he figured that out right there than every other time he's gotten into that, oh my gosh, kind of situation. So that already has been an improvement. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but he's kind of sticking his head to the outside and his butt to the inside. He's almost counterbent, right? If you were riding him, you would call him counterbent right now, meaning his shoulders a little to the inside, and actually right now his hips to the inside, his head's to the outside. So maybe counterbent's not the right word. Maybe the right word would just be angled to the outside of the circle. He's sort of going around the circle like this. Like I say, I'm not going to work on that right now. We have techniques to work on that later. And actually, the technique I'm using now is working on it, which is just driving this hind end away. Because every time he has to move his hind end around like that and then go the opposite direction right there. So this is working on that head to the outside issue, right? Because this is head to the outside, right? And he's fighting it, and then there's the release. So what gets him the release? Is it fighting? Nope, it's releasing to the inside and being soft and drawing through this turn rather than fighting against the turn. You can see there, he starts to lower his head a little bit. Good. We're making progress already. I love it. I'm gonna disengage that hind end. Much better stop. Much better stop. And there's Licking a Chew. Okay, now he's kind of set up to go to my left. He's pretty straight, but he's a little bit cockeyed off to my left. So I'm going to send him to my right. Always going to do the opposite. That's how you balance your horse up. If he's always leaning to the left, make him go right, vice versa. Point, step in. I'm driving straight at his shoulders. Now he's fighting that head thing. Now that is going to be something he's probably going to be more prone to because he's a draft, right? Drafts are bred to do what? Push into pressure, right? If you had a draft horse and every time you put the harness on him and you tell him to walk into it and pull the wagon, right? And that harness comes tight and he goes, ooh, let me get off that pressure. That's pressure. I should get off of it. He would be a terrible draft horse, right? So these guys are bred to pull against that pressure for hours and hours and hours at a time, right? Now, that's not saying that they can't be good saddle horses. They will. But we just have to teach him, very nice, to give to that pressure instead of pulling against that pressure, okay? Some horses playing around over there. Okay, this time I'm going to send him to the left. Good. Get that hind end untracked a little bit. Unlocked, get him moving. I'm gonna go ahead and disengage that hind end and send him the other direction. Now he thought about going the correct direction right there, but he said, nah, I don't think I want to. He almost leaned that direction, he almost went there, and then he said, nah. And then, of course, there was more pressure until he actually did go. So he'll figure it out. This is going really quick. See that big shake off there? He's going, man, maybe I should just do what this guy says. It seems like it might be easier. I'm going to ask him to stop and send him the other direction. Now that took him a little while to get his body figured out, but he did that on his own. I didn't have to get up there and actually whip on that shoulder and make him move through it, right? He pretty much did that on his own. And he's getting a little mad because I'm making him work. And he wants to run the show, and frankly, he's probably pretty used to running the show. But that's okay. I don't care if he gets a little bit mad. Now he didn't stop and face up, so I'm going to send him. Get bigger. And he figures it out. He's like, oh crap, I better actually go. So he's got a nice little stubborn streak, but he's smart enough to know to give in and not really play, But if the wrong person trained him and, really exacerbated that stubborn streak, if they weren't nice and consistent with him and gave him the motivation to play ball, he could turn into a very stubborn horse very quickly. But I think he's also smart enough, and it seems like he's got a good enough foundation, and with me continuing to train on him, I don't think he's gonna turn into too bad of a stubborn horse. You can walk and poop at the same time. So that was pretty easy to get him to keep walking, but I always want my horses to continue walking. Even if they're pooping, it shouldn't change the work they're doing, right? You can poop and lope at the same time if you needed to. That's part of that stubbornness thing, is saying, oh, I get to poop, I'm just going to stop everything. Nope. Because guess what? We're in the middle of a rein cow horse show or ranch versatility show, if you're doing that with him, and he goes to poop. You're not going to stop your circles. If you're riding your circles or you're doing your run down stop, your turnarounds, and he stops in the middle of it to poop, you're going to get a 0 for that activity or that run. So see him bracing, trying to run through it, trying to choosing all the wrong things until he chooses the right thing. Ask him to stop. Didn't really stop all the way through. He's pulling against that, and he goes, perfect. Look how much quicker he figured that out right there. That's what I'm looking for. This guy's a quick learner. Or he's done this a lot. I don't know. I don't really think so, because I think if they had done it a lot with him, I think he'd be better. I think he's a quick learner. But, everybody has slightly different body language and commands when they're doing this groundwork. So he may have done groundwork similar to this. They just may have had a different way of doing it. And, that's fine. Now, he's not paying a lot of attention to me, and because he just took that extra step, I'm going to go ahead and send him this way. I kind of messed up right there. So I probably need some sort of flag or even a lunge whip. This rope, it's not that it's not enough. It's not like I need to whip him or you need the flag. It's just I'm not using my rope management very well right now. A little bit better. See how stiff he gets in the neck right there? So we've got to get rid of all of that before we ride. That's going to probably be the biggest thing with this horse, is my guess is because of the way his owner told me that he was broken before she got him. My guess is they did very, very little suppling of his neck to both sides. and he's probably completely missing that component, which is why whenever he feels the halter, like right there, he pulls on it instead of giving to it. See what I mean? And so we're gonna have to fix all of that in order to keep us safe while we're riding. Fortunately, that's a nice quick fix. That's one of the easier things we can fix. But you can see how he's got that nose stuck way up in the air and he's kind of sticking it out in front of him and pulling against the rope, and all that stuff's gonna go away. But you know, if you're just looking at it like, okay, what needs to be done before we ride, that's like number one right there. Okay, that butt's a little close. Send him the other way and see how he starts going the wrong direction. Ask him to stop and send him in a new direction. Good. That was better. I like how when I add a little bit of pressure, he really engages his hind end and his back and moves out a little and doesn't necessarily speed up to a trot. He just, okay, now he didn't actually stop there at all. There we go. Doesn't necessarily go into the trot, but I mean, he can go into the trot like that if he wants to, but I just saw one thing in there where he really engaged his abs and lifted his back and pulled his back feet up underneath him. And, you know, once we teach him to do that extended walk, kind of getting into the ranch versatility stuff, he's going to be really cool. And I think that should make him a pretty nice stopper and, you know, turnarounds, just everything we want that hind end engaged up underneath him. Okay, didn't. There we go. Better. All right. Love how he's rocking his weight onto his hind end for those turns. I mean, his mentality could be a little bit better, as in stopping for me and going when I ask him a little bit better. But his physical, like the way he's using his body through those turns, indicates to me that he's going to be a pretty decent little cow horse. And not like he's going to win every show he ever competes in or something, but you know, he's got the basic building blocks. So his hind end just went out from under him on that slick kind of wet spot right there. And that's something I really like, having a few little slick spots in here when they're kind of, he's not bad, but sometimes when I first start working with the horse, they kind of flail all over the place because they're a lot more scared of things going on around them than they are thinking about their feet. And I want horses thinking about their feet. And so it might be counterintuitive. You think, oh, you want to have good footing. And I do have great footing in my indoor and my outdoor arena. But sometimes these working pins like this, it's really great actually if you have a little bit of slick surface in here, because it really teaches them to keep their balance underneath them and slow down and think, and then your foot won't go out from under you. Because I'd sure rather their foot go out from under them in here than for it to go out from under them when I'm riding them someday because they didn't understand how to keep their balance. Kind of teaches them some self-preservation by not babying them. You know, it's like raising kids. Like you can baby your kids and keep them nice and safe, never expose them to anything. I'm just getting after him a little bit there because he turned away and thought about just giving me the finger and saying, I'm out. And fortunately he didn't. I mean, he kind of knew that he's in a pen where he can't go anywhere. That's why I like these working pins. But he definitely thought about saying that, screw you, and giving me the finger. And so that's why I kind of got after him and said, hey, if you turn the wrong direction, all it means is you got to take that much more time to turn back the correct direction. And that means you're late. You need to get turned around. There. See him rock back onto his hocks, make that turn, because he realized, oh crap, I better get going or else I'm going to be late. All right. So he's kind of getting mad and he's fighting the game a little bit, right? So I'm not going to get mad with him. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing I'm doing. Keep offering him that spot. See how I'm offering him the spot to stop and he's not taking it, right? So then he has to go the other direction. And then he hits the end of the rope. You see, he's just making this as hard on himself as he possibly can. And then it's not under him. It's not collected because he's sticking his head way up in the air. And so now his hind end's flying out from under him. So he's making this as difficult on himself as he possibly can right now. So I'm not going to make it any more difficult on him. He's already doing that. I'm just going to offer him a stop. He didn't want to take it. Ask him to go the other direction. Now I'll offer him the stop. He kind of took it, but he didn't actually focus on me and come, get out of my space, dude. Come on. Got this rope all tangled up on myself. Offer him the stop. Didn't want to take it. Send him the other direction. And he was trotting when he started to poop, so I'm going to keep him trotting. Offer him the stop. And he... I'll go ahead and send him. So what happened there is he kind of just was sitting back on the lead rope, just like, I'm just going to sit on this. And so I'm not going to get in a tug of war with him right there. I'm just going to go ahead and send him. See how he's pulling against the rope right there? I'm just going to say, whenever you want to pull against the lead rope, you need to move your feet. Offer him to stop. He didn't want to take it, so you're late. You better go the other direction. Offer him to stop. You're late. You better go the other direction. He'll figure it out pretty quick. Offer him to stop. Okay, I like the stop, but he didn't go the other direction. He's trying, so I'm going to be very patient here. Put a little more pressure here. You can't run over the top of me. Now, I should have stood my ground a little bit there. I actually kind of backed up. So, okay, good to know. This horse has had experience running over the top of people. So, it's, you know, most horses that I work with are more wild, if you will. And their thing is they're going to flee from you, right? Him, though, he's probably more pen raised, if you will, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with either way. I actually kind of like him like him more. But he will, okay, right there, I like that. He's a little bit more into me here. He stepped over with his hind end a little bit more. I'm still going to send him. But next time I work him, I'll probably use a flag or something a little that's stiff that I can kind of get out in his space to keep that shoulder off of me. But he is a horse that will run over the top of you. So you just need to be aware of that and not let him do that. Not let him pull away from you because he knows he's big and that he can get away with that. So just me standing my ground right there, as good as I did, which wasn't great, was enough to kind of teach him because he didn't try to run over me there. So basically, a lot of things I talk about a lot in a lot of my videos is coping mechanisms. And we usually talk about coping mechanisms in the context of standing still, but coping mechanisms can apply to this too. So he's basically looking for outs. Okay, so he's not super enjoying this, which is, you know, okay. He's looking for how do I get out of this situation? And he's like, okay, I could flee. Well, there's all these pens around him and there's this rope. So he's not able to, fleeing is not working very well for him, right? He could fight. That's kind of what he tried to do over here, where he tried to run over the top of me. Fighting didn't really work so good for him. So he's just looking for answers, right? And that's what I want. I want a horse looking for answers, okay? Now, he didn't actually look at me, so I am going to send him the other direction. Good. He cleared out of my space a little bit better that time. I like that. This is I'm glad I'm getting this on video because this is kind of a classic situation right here. He's trying a lot of different things. And when he finally kind of gives up on trying stuff, well, I don't want him to give up on trying stuff. There, see him rock back and get out of my space? That's what we need. That's the same move we need when he's working cows, but that's the move we need for him not to be dangerous to a human. Okay, he's still kind of pulling on that rope. Good. Love that. He went to brace and kind of lock up and keep running into the pressure. It's like he was planning on doing. And then he goes, wait, I've seen this show before. That's not the right thing to do. Let me get stopped. Almost did a sliding stop and ready to get turned the other direction, because that's where the release is. I'm going to give him time. Good. He figures it out. Now, I don't love how he's kind of jumping into my space. I'd like him to clear out of my space a little bit better. But again, this is the first day we're doing this. It could be the first day he's ever done this. I don't know. I like his stop, but I need him focused in here a little bit better. So I'm going to point, give him all the time in the world here to go. Go, but you need to go. You do need to go. Love how his head's starting to come down. Ask for the stop. Good, but he didn't come in and focus on me. I'm going to ask him to go this way. Good. Good, good, good. He's going to be a jam-up little cow horse. And the reason I say that, you see how he's stopping flat to me? So his, right there, see how he's backing up? Now, I would, for groundwork and for like getting a nice broke horse, that's not what you want. Now, I'm going to get after him a little bit there, because he thought about turning. If we'd been in the pasture, he would have just turned and run, right? He would have just broken free. And so I'm going to get after him a little bit there and say, hey, that's not an okay, attitude to have. There. Dude, this guy's going to be cutting little son of a gun. For a non-cow horse, like not a, a horse that's not your typical like cow bloodlines. I mean, he's a draft cross, like for a horse that somebody's bringing to the cow world, he's going to be pretty cool as far as that goes. So he's actually locked in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop the rope and walk away. So that was one iteration right there. Big shake off, lots of release. Now, since he walks up to the rope, I'm just going to walk up here and go back to work. So he gets that release as long as he wants it, as long as he stands there. And that's how we usually talk about coping mechanisms right there, right? His coping mechanism there was, oh my gosh, I'm standing here and I don't know what to do. I better walk up onto the rope. I better just move my feet, right? You don't need to move your feet. Stand where I put you. Go. Oh, he's like, oh crap. So he wasn't focused on me, right? Because he didn't catch that point. Once he saw me, once he's like, oh, you're there, he knew where to go, but he wasn't actually focused on me. So what this exercise is really good for is getting them to focus on you. Getting them to focus on you, well, really all the time. But right here, he needs to be watching me to see what I'm telling him to do, right? There. And this is really, really good. I'm probably making it sound like this is not great. This is really good for a horse's first session doing this. Ooh, nice. You see how he comes through that turn and he goes, oh, you want me to go the other way? And then I said, no, I don't need you to go anywhere. And he's just like, oh, okay, cool. I guess I can lick and chew. I love that. He's doing really good for his first day. I'm going to go ahead and stop the camera. I got some folks coming out. So anyway, that's probably going to be all I'll do. I'll probably go and unhalter him and put him up for the day. That was a really great first session. So, all right, talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.